Yo, what's good, fam? It's your girl, the Butterfly, coming live from Little Rock, Arkansas, right here in the heart of the South on this Sunday night. If you're just tuning in, grab your tea, your snacks, or whatever you need, because tonight we're diving deep into some real talk about Black culture, divides, drama, and where we stand right now in 2026. Tonight's main event, we're reviewing the classic 1998 PBS Frontline documentary, The Two Nations of Black America, hosted by the legendary Henry Louis Gates Jr. This joint dropped back in the late 1990s, but Gates was basically predicting our future. He laid it out plain. After civil rights opened doors, Black America split into two nations, one thriving with the growing Black middle and upper class, success stories, integration, and all that. And the other, still trapped in poverty, mass incarceration, limited opportunities, systemic barriers that never fully went away. Gates interviewed folks from both sides, showed the stats, the stories, the debates on personal responsibility versus fixing the system. It's eye-opening then, and it's still ringing true today. So, Chad, drop a fire emoji if you feel like the divide is still alive and well in 2026. Or, drop a finger pointing if you think we're bridging it. Be honest. And also, Super Chats get priority reads, okay? Just so you know what is happening tonight. But we're not just rewatching an old doc. We're connecting it straight to the chaos happening right now. We're going to talk a little bit on Cardi B and Offset. Their divorce mess is still dragging, filed back in 2024, not finalized yet. Cardi said the holdup was financial drama, like Offset's taxes, but boom, Offset just cleared that $1.5 million tax debt this month. Spousal support fights, custody for Culture, Wave, and Blossom, separate lives. Cardi linked to Stephon Diggs rumors. Does fame and money fix the family and cultural issues Gates talked about? Or does it just expose them louder? We're breaking it down. A little bit on Anton and Corey Holcomb. That near fight on the 5150 show is still buzzing. Like, it's really annoying at this point. If you turn on any social media, it is definitely, killing your timeline right now. Corey went low, hitting Anton's family in responses and clips. Anton pushing his red pill conservative takes on Black communities. Corey called out the disrespect and intra-community mess. It's the perfect example of ideological beef widening the two nations, conservatives versus community accountability. Black politics in 2026. The GOP is trying to hold on to those Black voters gained from 2024, especially with men shifting. But Democrats still dominate overall loyalty. Redistricting battles, midterm prep, economic pressures, personal responsibility versus systemic fixes. Is the political divide making the class and cultural one worse? And so much more. We have generational ribs, boomers versus millennials, Gen X versus Gen Z, all that silliness, misogynoir, economic threats. We're unpacking how the doc's two nations prediction is playing out in real time. So I'm pulling key clips from the doc, fair use of course, giving my raw, unfiltered takes as the Butterfly. And I want your energy in the chat. Tell me, are we still two nations? Team Cardi or Offset, Anton or Corey? Is the conservative shift sticking in Black America? Hit that like button if you're locked in, double tap if you're on vertical, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell so you never miss the cultural breakdowns. And let's get this conversation hopping. But first, a little intro. Oh, yeah.
We started with fire, melon, and broke. in the dark, two hearts carrying legacies, carrying scars. But baby, we learned the first ingredients: trust. No secrets, no games, just us and God. We trust in each other.
Okay, guys. And here we are. How y'all doing? How you doing? How you doing? So what we're gonna do is we are gonna start watching the dog. Let's begin.
Thank you.
Well, that was nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting. I have spoken with each of you many times over the years, but never together.
Right.
And so, Ken, I think you were the instigator of this get together. Why did you want to have this conversation, and why now?
Well, first of all, I've known Skip for a quarter of a century and love him. But after the massacres in Charleston last June, and then after the sort of denouement where the Confederate flag was removed from the State House grounds in Columbia, we'd already been in touch, both of us, with ex-mayor Joe Riley, then Mayor Joe Riley, in Charleston about what we could do, how we could help, and we're all continuing to do that. But I was disappointed by the fact that there seemed to be a palpable sense of relief that we no longer had to talk about race again, which is something that has been in almost every film that I've done. That if you're going to study American history, you're going to bump up with the question of race in America and racism. And I reached out to Mayor Riley and said, I want to continue the conversation. It's really important that a symbol like the Confederate flag had been removed. Symbols are hugely important, particularly in our republic, but we need to do better than that. Sales of Confederate flags just skyrocketed right afterwards. And so he said, well, come down, let's have a conversation about race. And I said, I'm not going to come alone. And that,
This is the muscle.
So I wanted to bring my backup and my muscle. And so we started in early December in Charleston, and we had at the Gaillard Center, 1,800 people, a really good conversation. And we showed clips from both of our films, and we felt like you couldn't really measure, have you advanced the conversation, but you felt like you could really open it up. And people, it was a diverse crowd, as there is tonight. And we took it to Pasadena, and then we took it to South by Southwest on Saturday night in Austin. We did two things Monday at the National Press Club, and then at George Washington University on Monday night. And we're here, ending it appropriately in the place where this extraordinary experiment of bringing Jackie Robinson up, but one of the great cities on earth, Brooklyn, my birthplace.
All right.
Now, this is just to open it up, you guys. So he's really set the stage. Like, why does America have both the largest Black middle class and the largest underclass? He introduces the two nations concept with stark contrast: affluent Black professionals versus inner city poverty. And, we're still living this way in 2026, almost 40 years later. I do find it interesting as well that the Black person is used as the muscle. Why does the Black person have to be the muscle? Like, these are the conversations that we really need to be having. The perception of what it is to be Black, what it is to be certain classes and categories. How do we as individuals perpetuate the stereotypes and narratives and the myths? But let's jump a little bit forward in this.
With a calmer table around which we could have a civil discourse, because clearly that discourse has deteriorated, where now it takes a presidential candidate 24 hours to suddenly realize that he should distance himself from the Ku Klux Klan and David Duke and white supremacy, a very calculated one, which is like Republican establishment is supposedly freaked out about this. This is something new. But Ronald Reagan began his campaign in 1980 in Philadelphia, Mississippi, where the 3 civil rights workers had been slain. And he said, I am for states' rights. That's the first thing he said, which was the wink, wink, just as the period between the conversation with Jake Tapper and Trump's ultimate repudiation of David Duke and the Klan and white supremacy took that long.
You were saying you didn't think that you are surprised? Or
Oh,
you
yeah.
are
I mean,
surprised at this stage of.
I'm a child of the 60s. And you remember that we thought this is the last, our generation is different. The old generation, once they go, the petty forms of American apartheid will disappear. All right, then people forgot that. Then Barack Obama is elected. Remember all those theories of post-racial America? I even had a colleague who wrote a book called The End of Black Literature because a black man was in the White House. Hello? Can I have an instant replay of that moment? I missed that era.
Yeah. Well, we talk about the Onion magazine headline in his inaugural was "Black Man given worst job in the world." And the friends of mine who said, "Now will you stop talking about race?" I said, "Just watch." And
Did people really say that to you?
Well, first of all, I've gotten a great deal of hate mail all the way through about dealing with race. And then I have friends who say, why do you keep bringing it up? And people who ask, and even scholars who say, why do you keep bringing this up? And I said, it's American history. I'm not looking for it. It's just there in every essence. We put Black history into February, our coldest, shortest, and darkest month, as if it's some politically correct addenda to our national narrative, when it's actually at the burning heart of who we are. It's our original sin when we inherit the hypocrisy of all men are created equal, written by Thomas Jefferson, who says, "Oh, thank you, Sally. Yeah, oh, thank you, Jacob." That's what happens. This is the America that we have. So when he was elected, I knew that most of us want to believe. When the president sang at the memorial service in Charleston, he sang "Amazing Grace." That was the better angels of our nature. That was us projecting ourselves to our best selves and saying, this is who we really are. But there's also a subset of that, not a majority, I'm happy to say, but people who are disturbed by the old guilts that Robert Penn Warren called the Civil War and that can't stand living cheek by jowl with African Americans, and so have to make these rules. PBS posted a small segment of the President and First Lady talking about Jackie and Rachel, and how Jackie wouldn't be there without Rachel Robinson, as you'll see. And they put it up about a week ago. If you go on their Twitter feed, you can look at it. It's a wonderful, very moving, funny scene and very human. But if you go on the Twitter feed, you cannot believe that we are in the 21st century, that we are in 2016. The comments are what you'd expect in Jim Crow 1880 Macon, Georgia.
And speaking of Jim Crow, there is the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University in Michigan. And we filmed there for Many Rivers to Cross. And there are two kinds of black people. The way either you think that the Sambo art, and at least two kinds of black people.
Right, I thought there were 42 million kinds of.
We'll get to that.
There are some more, but go ahead.
When it comes to racist imagery of black people, there are two kinds. Either you collect it and you think that by collecting it you can explicate it. If you can explicate it, you can exercise it. And then there are other people who think it should all be part of a big bonfire and destroyed. And there is David Pilgrim is a scholar, and he's created the world's first Jim Crow museum. And when we filmed there, 3 years ago, already there wasn't exactly a wing dedicated to Barack Obama and racist imagery of the president, but there was a whole section which is just with the vilest, sexually demeaning, just things I don't even want to say out loud. And it was just somehow electing a black man, putting a black man in the White House, just
disturbed a
flipped
lot of people.
it. No, it didn't disturb. It flipped some people completely
Do you
out.
think that your words will matter in this current environment?
Oh, you have to believe that. I mean, when I'm a student of Africa.
So we're gonna pause there for a minute. But let's really talk about it, right? And this is a earlier. Hey TMK, how you doing? Hey Chris, hey Nightish, hey Bad. Now this is okay, Badass, that's fine. So when we're talking about how the two nations are looked at, right? It's either you're in proximity to whiteness with the money, because everybody's talking about money. I got money and I'm rich and that makes me better than you. Sorry. If President Barack Obama was in a position where they were threatening to hang him from a tree, what up, A-Dub, then what makes you think you're better? There's nobody is richer than somebody in DC on the Hill. Be for real, right? So it's just the way that white people look at you as a black person. And in my opinion, like, forget about everything I said in my intro, because this show is gonna go probably a whole bunch of different ways. Like, I've been thinking about it all day, and honestly, let's have a one-on-one real quick. There's a lot of people in the African American community that are all over social media making an absolute fool of themselves. Black people calling other Black people COONS. Black people calling other Black people NIGGERs, right? Y'all are out here and you're foolish. The fight is not within the ranks. The fight is outside of it. And as I'm looking at my timeline, I'm looking at my feed, and I'm looking at all the foolishness that people are talking about, do you understand what's actually happening in the world outside of your narrow scope? Nah, because as a whole, Black people have gotten away from it. They've lost the plot. It's not about if you're wearing Balmain, Balenciaga, all this and all that. Because truth be told, don't tell nobody. White people that have money do not wear their money. They don't wear their wealth. Their wealth is where it needs to be, in investment portfolios and real estate. Like, they're not out here to prove anything to you and show you exactly how rich they are, right? So there's that. But you got Black people getting violent on social media, violent in person, doing team entirely too much. And this conversation, it speaks to that. It speaks to, oh, no doubt. And I will be dropping a link too, so y'all could come up and join the conversation. Like, I'm about that. Like, it speaks to what is really going on. Y'all really think it's about who got the biggest eggplant in the farm, huh? You know, that's how they used to play y'all back in the day too. That's how they used to play Black people back in the day. Make you breeders. Make you breed more slaves to be used to be capital gains for other nations. What's up, Big George? But let's get back to this video, because yeah, I think I got more time today. I really kind of wasn't in the mood. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was supposed to do this one last night, and then every time I opened my phone and I was looking at my timeline, I was like, oh God. Like, I erased my whole watch history so that certain topics and certain people would not be in my algorithm. And then I turned my phone on today. What's up, Rocky? I turned my phone on today, and it was the same thing. And I'm just like, yo, the powers that be are pushing you a narrative. Why? Because they don't want you looking over here and seeing what's really happening. They want you fully focused over here at the bullcrap, to be unaware. And I'm going to drop this link so that anybody else that wants to join while we're talking about this, y'all can join. And then we're going to continue watching this, because I don't even think that this needs to be picked out and finessed. I think people need to hear this in its entirety.
In American history, as you know. And one of the things that I tell my students is that our ancestors, imagine, you know, in 1860, in the 1860 census, 90% of our ancestors were enslaved. And these are people living in a slave cabin in one room, right? With their children in one room. And there is no promise, no guarantee that slavery would be abolished. But they believed, you know, they believed a better time was coming. They believed, think of all the phrases in African-American discourse. They made a way out of no way, hope against hope. They believed that one day you would be sitting here, I would be sitting here, a white man would take as part of his subtext for his corpus of brilliant works, race in the presence of Black people. They believed that, and they somehow, where did they get the faith? Where did they get the hope? How could we have any excuse not to believe in the future if our ancestors put up with all that shit from slavery?
All right. Well, to that end, though.
Now, right there, I disagree to a degree, right? First of all, better days ahead and all of this and all that actually comes from scriptures in the Bible. And since it's Sunday, there was a chapter and a verse I was going to talk about today too. Like, I had a lot of things rolling through my mind to discuss in conjunction with this topic, right? But here's the thing. It took Black people a long time to learn to be able to read, because it was illegal for Black people to read, right? So when you see people that have low reading capacity and levels today, that's because a lot of those people are still in outlying areas that don't have the strictest access to education, or the education is built off of redlining and how the property taxes actually fuel the districts and fuel the education, right? If we really looking at it, yeah, they abolished chattel slavery, but what they really did was take the chains off your wrists and your feet and they put it on your mind. Because now Black people are slaves to materialism. They're slaves to capitalism and still have no legacy wealth. Y'all don't hear me though. So when I'm sitting here and listening to people arguing about who got the most bread, yeah, that's cool or whatever, but where does that money lead you? For real, for real. Because now you have the conversation where people are like, well, we shouldn't even leave money to our family, to our lineage, because they got to go out there and get it from their bootstraps. Meanwhile, that is not the function of wealth or legacy in these contiguous United States of America, and it never has been. But it's because they're using the media to brainwash you and make you think that you shouldn't leave anything to your family members. You shouldn't leave your family no legacy. What's up, Miss Murph? Yes, Black people, you need life insurance. Yes, Black people, you need your 401ks. Yes, you need to have beneficiaries executed on all of your insurance premiums, your investment accounts and everything else, so that there is a clear legal line of who those accounts belong to. Because if you don't establish that clearly, it goes back to the state, because nobody is going to sit there and adjudicate your estate. You will not have an estate planner, especially if you have not filled out wills and living wills and trusts and everything else. Like, these are things that need to be documented, but they're going to tell you to be selfish and spend up all of your money in the materialistic capitalism boom that is actually doing damage to the global community. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. See, I've been holding back. What's up, Miss T Pre? Yes, chain minds, amen. Okay. But I've been holding back a whole cacophony of information, and I'm tired of it, quite frankly. And I can't come up here all the time and just talk to y'all about bullcrap. Sometimes I really just got to rip the Band-Aid off and talk to y'all about something real. Truth be told, Cardi B and Offset is just another function of Black families not working it out. And let's talk about it. Y'all are mad at Clarissa Shields, Papoose, and Remy Ma, but y'all are celebrating Cardi B, and she's literally having a whole baby with somebody else while she is still married to Offset. I'm gonna need y'all to button up the hypocrisy. And the situation with Anton and Corey, because I'm gonna make this real quick on them two. Neither one of them are right in this situation. Neither one. But I will say this, in the situation with Corey Holcomb and the recent video that was released by TMZ, y'all are literally looking at a clip that's less than 30 seconds and you're trying to push blame onto one person or another. Is it right that he pushed a lady? No. But are there exigent circumstances surrounding that? Possibly. Since that case was adjudicated in 2024, it was dismissed. TMZ reported that he didn't have a restraining order against the lady, but when they did the video with her, Harvey Wallstein and his little co-host, they said out of their mouth, so you guys have mutual restraining orders, and she agreed. So that case is still ongoing. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. So I need for people to stop looking at social media as the barometer for information and actually do some research. Go to court documents, Los Angeles County documents, maybe look at the registrar, see, where charges are, where they aren't, what's happening. But Black people are acting like they just need people to tell them everything, and like they don't have the capacity or the propensity to go and find out for themselves. And the amount of ways that people are speculating and talking about and whatever about these people. Are y'all okay? Ultimately, I don't know about you, but I don't give a damn if Anton has a side chick or if he doesn't. That's a problem for him and his wife. It's unfortunate what was said about his daughter. That's up to him as a father to decide what he's going to do, if he's going to rip his child out of programs and take care of her, or if he's not. If Corey comes on and he defends or he ignores the allegations made against him by this woman, that is really his business. But everybody is here for the tea, right? Child, whoever told you you're going to get the truth? Y'all realize by now that people like to spin narratives and elucidate stories and drag shit out just in order to get people to click and view? But it's a stimulation packet everybody's eating, right? Y'all better do your taxes. Do you know how much more money you're getting this year in taxes? Thanks to President Trump. I'll be quiet. Let's continue.
Well, this seems like a good place to start bringing in. You both have new films coming out. Ken's yours is first, and then yours is coming out when?
In the fall.
In the fall. Yours is coming out
April 11th and
12th. Produced along with Sarah Burns and Dave McMahon, who's
in
here.
the
Hopefully,
audience.
she's here. So we're gonna play some clips throughout our conversation this evening. I think this is a really good place to start because clearly you believe that the truth does matter, at least to some people, and that knowing the history does matter to some people. So I want to play a clip. There'll be a clip from each of your films, and this one I'm going to play the clip first. But before we play the clip, I did want to ask you why Jackie Robinson and why now?
Well, it's a very good question. We had covered him significantly in my 1994 9-episode, 18-and-a-half-hour series on the history of baseball. He was in nearly every episode, and we'd done a good job on it. And his widow, Rachel, who's now 93, began speaking to me, more than a dozen years ago, asking for a standalone one. Would I do that? And I said he certainly deserves it, but we were busy, and Sarah and Dave and I finished the film on the Central Park Five and said yes, wholeheartedly. And one of the reasons is he is the most important person in the history of baseball. I would say in the history of American sports.
State authority. However it manifests itself, or even when it isn't state authority, but claims the authority of the state to its own ends. Yeah. And so this is
which has worked positively and negatively for our
That's
people.
Right.
Well, I'm interested in your take on that. Do you want to play the clips first, or do you want to
No,
tell me more
let's
about
play-
what you
no,
think?
let's
Tell me
play
more
the-
about why you say that, because when I said that, claiming the authority of the state to its own ends, I'm thinking Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman.
No, but I was
And I was
thinking
wondering
of
what you're thinking.
I was thinking of Brown v. Board.
Okay.
So there were times when small groups of people did what was right, and if there had been a referendum on integrating schools in 1954, it never would have passed. But it was a 9-0 unanimous decision from the Supreme Court. I was thinking of things like that.
Which other people would call judicial activism.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which they are now trying to
Eliminate.
Completely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
let's
do it.
play this next set of clips, which speaks in its own way, speaks to this whole question of the relationship of the state to the person.
Yes.
And are we ready? Let's play those.
Yes.
In early 1943, the club's directors pledged their support to Ricky's plan to integrate the Dodgers. Ricky immediately instructed his scouts to begin searching for the right man. Back at Camp Hood, Texas, the 761st Tank Battalion was preparing to go overseas. On the evening of July 6, 1944, 1 month after Allied forces landed in Normandy, Jackie Robinson boarded a military bus headed to nearby Temple, Texas.
He got on the bus on the Army grounds, and he sat next to a woman who looked like she was white. She was a friend of his, and she wasn't white. The bus driver came back and said, "Move to the back of the bus." And Jack refused. He said, "I will not."
I ignored him. I had just seen the Army regulations that had been sent out. No discrimination on any Army vehicle on an Army post in the United States. I refused to allow this civilian to dictate to me where I was gonna sit. Everything would have been all right if I had been a Yazzie boss type.
At the last stop on the base, the bus driver demanded Jackie's identification. A white woman threatened to press charges. Witnesses recalled Jackie swearing at her, but Robinson claimed that he had only told the bus driver, "Quit fucking with me." The military police.
Now, what's interesting about this portion of it, right, is when we think about the military, we had Black people in the military protecting the United States of America, even during the highest points, highest peaks of Jim Crow era and segregation. And I keep telling y'all, light, bright, and damn near white. There was a lot of us. There still is to this day a lot of black people that you look at them and you may think that they're white, and they're not. They're black. This racial divide got y'all all tripping. This colorism aspect within the black culture. Oh, you dark, you too light, and light skin versus dark skin. That got y'all all tripping too. Black encompasses the whole rainbow, from blonde hair and blue eyes to skin that looks like ebony being poured from the heavens and obsidian. Like, what are we talking about for real? And these are the people that sit here and they keep profiting and positing colorism standards as the means to the ends. Y'all cannot believe that people like me are meant to listen to you, because you clearly are delusional. There's a lot of yes sir type, yes a master sir type of people out here. They just simply tell you that they're rich. But let's continue.
Arrived and were disrespectful to Robinson. He refused to back down.
Think about the number of black men in 1944 who challenged white authority in such a bold way, not just refusing to give up his seat, not just refusing to do what he was told, but to actively stand up and swear at them.
The fact that he stood up and he spoke in a very, very aggressive way to the officers that came was extremely threatening and extremely unsettling to the white people who were there. He was very lucky in many respects that he wasn't, that it didn't turn violent.
Robinson was arrested and charged with insubordination.
Imagine that. In a country that you are supposed to have freedom of speech, being arrested, being legally prosecuted for exercising your freedom of speech. And there's black men to this day that they can't take what people will say, so they want to prosecute them legally. It's crazy to me. Again, people think that money gives them proximity to whiteness, and it does not. Because y'all are still not valued like white people are. We are still not valued like white people are. But we want to have all this infighting. Somebody has to make it make sense to me.
The trial began on August 2nd, 1944. In his testimony, Jackie admitted that he had threatened a private who had insulted him. "If you ever call me a nigger again, I'll break you in two," he'd said. When asked what the word nigger meant, Robinson said, "My grandmother was a slave, and she said the definition of the word was a low, uncouth person. I don't consider that I am low and uncouth. I do not consider myself a nigger at all."
Jack, as a young man, always railed against segregation. He always carried himself with a sense of dignity and a sense of purpose in a way that says, I will not be ignored. I will not be denied. What you see at the forefront of Jack's consciousness at all times is the fact that he has a responsibility to the race to do everything possible to ensure that they'll win full equality. And Jack, in that sense, is the quintessential race man.
And that's what it really is, right? If we're really going to talk about it, and all these people with their talking points and their bullshit, it's not about distancing yourself from the race of black people. It's not about saying, well, I'm not black, and you black people. What are y'all talking about? Be it for your people, be it for your community. It's about actually standing up for your community as a whole. So it's a lot of grifters out here trying to beat you in the head and tell you a bunch of nonsense that they don't believe they damn self. But let's continue.
Can we turn the lights up just a teeny bit so I can actually see? Would that be okay? Apologies to our streaming audience, but how many here remembered that Jackie Robinson had actually been arrested before he went into the major leagues? Anybody remember that?
No.
Maybe I see a couple hands here. How many?
And this is another thing. Like, people are always talking about going to jail in the black culture and how going to jail is such a stand against black people. But a lot of black people were arrested and went to jail in the black culture fighting for their rights to be. As a matter of fact, to this day, a lot of people, when they're arrested, they're fighting for their rights to be. Are people doing silly stuff? Of course they are. But are people also standing up for themselves? Of course they are. And if you don't stand for anything, you will what? Fall for anything. Speak for real. But back to what I was telling you about the scripture, right? Pride ends in humiliation, while humility brings honor. Want y'all, maybe next Sunday I'll do a whole thing on Proverbs 29. But baby, when I tell y'all about Proverbs 29, if you really call yourself a Christian, honey, Proverbs 29 is gonna get you what? Two and together. Let's dig a little deeper into Proverbs 29. Mockers inflame a city, but the wise turn away anger. Proverbs 29:8. If a wise man goes to court with a fool, there will be raving and laughing with no resolution. Proverbs 29:9. Yeah, y'all ain't ready. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. I just wanted to give that to you in a different capacity. Like, there's a lot of people out here raging against fools, raging with fools, being foolish together as a group. And that's why there ain't no rest. That's why you see people up all night like Rhonda Shields, just stuck in the loop of insanity. I say no. Let's continue.
Remembered that the Watts riots uprising happened 5 days after the passage of the Voting Rights Act. Anybody remember? I see a couple of hands back there. Wow, how is it that we don't know these things? But
you don't remember, you don't know these things as a collective because they just want to make you feel like Black people are violent criminals. Black people are silverback gorillas and savages. Only oftentimes, the biggest reactions and criminal punishment to Black people is after intense violence towards us. It's after, something categorically shifts to put us in a better position, and people don't like that. Like, everybody forgets, I don't care how you feel about Barack Obama as a president, everybody forgets that when he got elected, there was a lot of racial outrage. So what exactly are we saying as a culture when we as individuals perpetuate the narratives that media wants to spew out about us as a whole? I'll wait. So I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Quite literally. Let's continue.
I do want to ask you, Skip, obviously I'm going to ask you to sort of talk out of this. What about the present moment strikes you about what we just saw?
Well, obviously Black Lives Matter comes to mind, the denunciation, or just the not accusation, but the fact that the man on the street said the police have been abusing us for all this time. This is August of 1965, and no one has done anything about it.
And not a few people have noted that the fact that the current wave of protest has occurred during the administration of an African American president, and
Sure.
A lot of people find that puzzling.
Yeah, well, it's one of the themes that we have to deal with, and it's something I think that we're all acutely aware of, is that within the African American community, to paraphrase Dickens, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Since 1970, the size of the Black upper middle class has quadrupled. The percentage of Black people making over $100,000 a year has quadrupled since 1970. The percentage of Black people making over $75,000 a year has doubled. That's great, best of times, right? Why? Because of affirmative action. But the percentage of Black children living at or beneath the poverty line in 1970 was just over 40%. And according to the 2010 census, it was 38%, the worst of.
So you got all these people talk about I made it. Look, I made it. I'm rich. I'm filthy fucking rich. But there's been no shift in the poverty lens of our culture. 2% change between 1970 and the time of this recording is very negligible. So Black people as a whole aren't winning. So now I posit this for all the wealthy Black people in the world. What is all the wealth in the Black community doing for the bottom of the Black community? Because there's standards, right? There's a standard. There's a line that needs to be told. It's about the women and the children, right? See, the Black Panthers, they took their money, they created programs like WIC, right? Before it was WIC. They actually had people outside protecting the neighborhood, right? So what is the comparative analysis to what is being done today in today's society? Oh, rich Black Negroes get on social media and talk down about other Black people within their circumference. Look at y'all Black people. I'm doing this and you not doing this. So I'm better than you. Look at you hoes. Y'all ain't nothing but hoes. Look at your raggedy kids and all of this and all of that. That's what the high value men. High value. And I've been telling y'all for years, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. 100K ain't no money. Now, I'm not going to put y'all all in my business, but I work in finance, and to a large degree, I see more people with over $300,000 or more outside of this community. That's actual money. We have money to live comfortably, money to save, money to get properties, and also prepare for the future of your children, right? That's money. But those people that I know that are making over 300K, upwards to $1 million and more, they're not running around trying to tear down and disparage anybody. You know why? Because they're too busy getting money. In fact, they have a lot of charitable contributions on their documents, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But at the end of the day, like, Black people don't care about Black people. And Black people use talking points and narratives to be the fuel that inspires, to be the tinder to the flame, to burn each other down to the ground. Black people are out here taking each other out day by day, second by second, with the words. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can devastate you. Y'all are speaking negative spells on your own people. That's all it is. And for all my good Christian folks, I know you know there's power in the tongue. You've gone to church, you've read the good book. Let's continue.
It's a paradox. Dr. King would have thought that in that generation, that if you and I were on this stage and Barack Obama was in the White House, my God, there's some kind of revolution that had taken place, right? That if the Black upper middle class had quadrupled, in other words, then the percentage of Black people in poverty would have decreased by the same proportion. But that's not what happened. And why? Because of affirmative action. Many of us have read, everybody's read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. I was born in 1950. I hit Yale in September '69 with 96 Black men and women. The class of '66 at Yale had 6 Black men. What, was there a genetic blip in the race and all of a sudden there are 90 smart Black people who existed 3 years later? Of course not. Yale had strict racist quotas. Historically, white colleges and universities, term I prefer, had strict racist quotas on the number of Black people allowed to matriculate. And when I got to New Haven, who was there with me? Sheila Jackson Lee was in my class. Congresswoman from Houston. Kurt Schmoke, first Black mayor of Baltimore. I was pre-med because, you know, that's the way it was back in the day. Smart little Black girls and Black boys had to be doctors, right? So I was going to be a doctor. So once in a while in a lab, I'd run into a guy from Michigan. I'm trying to remember his name. It was Carson, I think. Wasn't it? Ben Carson.
Was that shade? He was giving a little bit of shade right there. Y'all hear YouTube unfolding. But this is the thing. Y'all better understand some people are simply selected. A lot of things that happen, right? It has to do with preparation, not meeting opportunity. A lot of things are simply based on selectivity. It's not based off of merit. Some people just happen to have a rash of good luck. You know, a good movie that really talks about this, right? I watched it over the weekend and I thought it was really so poignant and necessary. Is The Ballad of a Small Player. Now, Ballad of a Small Player it's a little bit of a weird movie. It's kind of off the beaten path, right? Because it's dealing with it's never too late for anybody, right? It talks about the festival of the hungry souls and, like, you know, different things of that nature. And it shows how one person lived their afterlife story in order to compensate and make up for the debts that they owed in real life, right? It's super dope. You guys go check it out. It's on Netflix. Maybe we'll do a review about that. But, like, there's a lot of hungry souls that have big, wide mouths and really thin necks, and they are never satisfied, which is why they're constantly on this chase, constantly trying to hustle and survive and grind so they could get to the mountaintop. But they're not paying their debts, their spiritual debts. But y'all not ready. Let's continue, child. But this is very interesting. From 6 to 96, child.
Over at the law school, we go to the film society. I mean, I'd be careful which kind of film I'm talking about. But we go to the Yale Law School Film Society, and Clarence Thomas was there. And I mean,
I get it.
No.
It's a diverse
I didn't mean that. I'm just saying we were part of the crossover generation.
Uh-huh.
And of course, Bill and Hillary were there at the law school too at the same time. No, we didn't know them. I didn't know Clarence either. But my point is that American society opened up at the height of the economy. Ken's masterpiece that's coming. I know it's hard to imagine Ken making anything better than what he's made, but he's done 18 hours on Vietnam. We had guns and butter. We had almost zero unemployment. We were fighting a war abroad and we were fighting poverty at home. So it was easier for the American society to feel generous, to say, okay, we're going to diversify historically white institutions, and that was affirmative action. But what happened within a few years, somebody woke up and said, there's enough of y'all in here already. I don't know how y'all got in here, but we're going to shut the door. And that was called Alan Bakke. It's true. And so those of us who were able to benefit from affirmative action were able to integrate the upper middle class and the middle class, which is why I find it paradoxical. I mean, ideology aside, and you know this, and Ken's film makes this clear, we've always had great ideological diversity in the Black community. We've had Black Republicans, until 1964, we had a significant number of Black Republicans, including Jackie Robinson. We had Black Democrats. We've always been arguing. But for some...
So are the Black conservatives of today coons, since we've always had Black Republicans? Seems like a lot of people that spew political talking points and nonsense don't actually know the history of the political arena. Don't really understand that a lot of your civil rights leaders were in fact Republican. So is it that the Republican Party doesn't like Black people? Doesn't accept them, doesn't embrace them? Is it that the Democratic Party is absolutely for Black people, shoring them up and leading them to the promised land of milk and honey? Or is it that we just live in a system that's oppressive because it's based off of laws and regulations that were created during the times of chattel slavery? They have never struck from the Constitution that Black people are 3/5 property. And I don't care when people say, well, that was just for the voting aspect of it. Are you okay? That is dehumanizing a whole race of people. The fact that that goes over a lot of people's heads and they try to justify it is crazy. The abolishment of slavery wasn't even fully ratified until sometime in the 90s. And as they've been playing with certain laws that have been passed, Brown versus Board of Education, Roe v. Wade, Miranda, when the Supreme Court overturned a lot of those initiatives, this is not a static environment, right? And what he is talking about is there was a very small demographic of people from our community that was allowed entryway into upper middle class. And the rest of us had to get it out the mud. Or get it when someone died and left you some money in a life insurance policy, which means you probably had to struggle throughout your whole life for them to be able to pay them premiums. So can one really say one is better than or worse than the next person of color? And then when we look at situations like what happened with Oprah, when she went over there overseas and she tried to do what she do, and they didn't know who she was, they still treated her like black. Jay-Z said it best. House nigga, poor nigga, rich nigga, filth nigga. Still nigga. And I say this to black people all the time in these spaces. Well, I used to. I just stopped wasting my energy talking to people that refuse to understand. As a person of color, when you are on social media platforms disparaging your own people, you just fit in a narrative. And when those chickens come home to roost, and come home to roost, they shall. Why should anybody feel any sympathy? Why? Because you're up here trying to set up all the people, all of your people, like you are better than and you are worth more. Where all the people outside of your community see no difference between you and another. Let's continue.
One, to have benefited from affirmative action as much as I have, right? And then to stand at the gate and try to keep other people out, saying that somehow there were problems with affirmative action, it was un-American, they gave us an unfair advantage, I think would make a person like me, as far as I'm concerned, nobody's benefited from affirmative action more than I am. And for me to adopt that position will make me a hypocrite as big as Mr. Justice Clarence Thomas, and I'm not ever going to be that kind of
Do you address that in the film, though? Do you address that in the film, the rise of this counter narrative
Absolutely.
about the Black experience? And because one of the things that sort of fascinates me in the current moment is just this completely different sense of reality as it is lived by the same, people used to think that if you had the same facts, you'd come to the same conclusion.
Right.
And that is certainly, we have made it very clear that that was an 18th century Enlightenment conceit that clearly is not the case.
Right.
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 So do you address this? What in your view accounts for this? Just people who have very similar experiences to yours and just say, well, no this, no that, no this.
You mean within the African American community?
Within the African American community.
I think it's complicated in the case of Clarence Thomas. I mean, I don't know him. I've never met him. I was at the Supreme Court once, and I saw him we kind of nodded at each other. I find it tremendously difficult to understand how anybody who could have profited personally so much from a policy then say it was the worst thing that ever happened to his life. Going to Yale Law School was a disastrous thing. This was an unfair thing to a person like him and his running buddy, Justice Scalia, who had the audacity to say maybe it'd be better for those people, not his phrase, but to be at a school where they were more intellectually comfortable than a school like an Ivy League school that would be not forced to integrate, but implicitly forced to integrate because of affirmative action. I think it's part of a collective inferiority complex that is a remnant of slavery.
Do you?
I think, yeah.
And you better say that. You better say that. Because here's the thing, right? these policies, yes, it would be great if these institutions just accepted Black people, you know, just as human beings, right? A lot of these institutions, a lot of these old guard ways, they needed those laws to let people in the door. Now, I can understand both sides of the argument to a degree, right? Because when you're going to a place where you're not wanted and you're forcing yourself in there, right? That could be devastating because of the racism, the level of racism that you may have to encounter, and people trying to, you know, stab you in the back, undermine your intellectual capacity because they don't want you to be there, which forces you to work harder to prove your worth, right? But also, it was of benefit to some people. And I think in our community, you have some people that live with rose colored glasses on and they think that everything is perfect because we're not slaves. And I think you have the other class of people that understand we're not slaves anymore, but everything is far from perfect because there's 100 ways to cut people in the society that we live in, and how the paperwork is set up, how the laws are set up. And instead of trying to compete in these markets that are not set up for us, that are not made for us, the overarching lesson is we need to be creating our own. And that takes me back to the top of it. Like all these Black people with money, where are the institutions of higher learning? Where is the Black Ivy League schools? I'm not just talking about the HBCUs, right? Because I don't think that an HBCU should ever have to go to the government for funding when there are so many wealthy Black people that have graduated from an HBCU. Where is the alumni supporting the institutions that they came from? Our way. See, when the Black community was really thriving and growing, because everybody brings up Black Wall Street and all this and all that, at those times in history, the Black community was pouring into each other. The Black dollar was circulating within the Black community because Black people were buying from Black people. Now, oh man, you got a Black business. I don't even like how you do stuff, but this is not perfect, so I'm not going to buy from you. See, the other day I was on the BTSI show, and the person that was speaking on his show from Clubhouse was like, no, we were always integrated. We were never integrated. Never. We just happened to be a community, and the butcher knew what the butcher's role was, and the baker knew what the baker's role was, and the candlestick maker knew what the candlestick maker's role was. And all those people did good business with each other and continued to push along the community. But Black people had a lot of infighting even then. What's up, Lorna? Even then. Right, Black dollars are not staying in our Black community anymore. The Black dollar stays in the Black community like 6 minutes. So I need all the rich people. I need them to be creating industry. Where's the Black-owned grocery stores? Where's the Black-owned clothing stores? Where's the Black-owned toiletries? Huh? Where's the Black-owned cleaning supplies? Where's the Black-owned shoemakers? Where's the Black-owned dry cleaners? Where's the Black-owned liquor stores? Where's the Black-owned restaurants? Where's all of that? See, nobody wants to really talk about what it really takes to get the Black community together. It don't got nothing to do with broken homes, none of this and none of that. What it has to do with is actually creating industry within the Black community so that the Black community has something to be proud of. Y'all remember back in the day when y'all was growing up, it was what? Black pride, Black power, right? Y'all forgot about that? Huh? The NAACP, the Rainbow Coalition, and they kind of fell off. They didn't do us but so much good after like the 80s, and you know, the crack epidemic flooded into Black communities. That goes a little bit deeper, you know what I'm saying, when you go into Reaganomics and all of this and all of that. Yeah. We can talk about all of that, but you know. So if you're going to really talk about infrastructure, the problem in the Black community is infrastructure. Huh? And people think that you're going to fix the Black community by being on podcasts and panels all day long, yelling at Black people about how good they are or how good they aren't. How these same people that scream at you about what you're worth, what you're not worth, run around with Gucci, Fendi, Prada, Christian Louboutins, and everything else, even the pastors of your mega churches. Pastors of these mega churches pulling everybody money off tithes and offerings, but ain't doing nothing to improve the communities that they're preaching in, but they take all the money. I'm so sick of people of color. I don't even have black fatigue. I have black exhaustion. Because all I see every day is a bunch of grifters. On top of being very busy in my real life, that's another reason why y'all don't be seeing me up here as much anymore. Because when you start pulling back and you really start listening to what people are saying and pulling them threads, it's like, what is this? Oh, well, black people need to get married. For what? For what? The same people running around out here telling y'all to be married and everything else is the same people running around here telling you that it's okay for them to have extramarital affairs. Get into it. Well, you should just stay with a man because we need to be together. We need to be together for what? What's the end game? Be together to spend our money collectively in another community to increase their legacy wealth and do nothing for our people? No, my brother. No, my sister. All these people talk about something, they got a lot of land. So they didn't give us 40 acres and a mule. Cool. All these rich people buy up all the acreage that's left. I mean, we know all the agricultural land has been brought up. One man in particular owns 446 acres of agricultural farmland in the United States of America, which means, God forbid, we get cut off from the rest of the world. Your food supply is dependent on somebody that doesn't look anything like you. Oh, no. Here go Omni. Hey, Omni.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening?
What's going on? I'm over here, you know what I'm saying? Just talking to gospel. Cooking. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it all. Like,
yeah, I've been sick of it too. It's crazy.
And I seen you having some interesting conversations with people, and I was just like, why is he up there? Let me snatch him. But I was like, then I gotta go up there, and I don't. Nah, he got it. He good.
Yeah, people be advocating for the wrong thing, like, and they know it's the wrong thing, and they still advocate for it. That's the part that gets me. Like, call and move with like-minded people. You can't go off of skin color. Really can't, because.
Right. All skin folk is not kinfolk.
Absolutely. It's about who shares values. You know what I'm saying? The values that you share. It can't be predicated on anything else. Because, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, regardless of skin color, ain't shit. Cat Williams has a great joke. He says, I don't have to be racist or anything. Fuck you, because you ain't shit. And keep it moving.
Pretty much.
That wasn't racist? See how that wasn't racist at all? But nowadays, people don't accept that, you know what I'm saying, they could be subpar, substandard, or anything like that. They just, they were born perfect and the world is wrong.
Nah, because, you know what I'm saying, they rich. They filthy fucking rich. Like, you got some life insurance money. And now, let me shut up. See. Watch the video with me.
I got you.
Yes, I think the worst thing,
because there are people. I mean, I'm very interested in this whole question again, making the connection between past and present, because Donald Trump keeps saying that there are Black and Latino people who will support him. And on my show just last week, I had a person who many people might disagree with this, but I have interviewed people. There's Omarosa, this former person on The Apprentice. Yeah. There's this pastor Mark Burns who was has was quoted over the weekend introducing a Trump rally saying that Bernie Sanders should accept Jesus, and that's who's an African American minister.
Right.
Omarosa has multiple degrees from Howard University, and they're supporting him. So I'm just interested in, not to
Well, but
call
that's
names,
different.
but these are public figures, so I feel like it's okay.
Sure. No, that's fine. No, that's different. At first, I thought you were talking about why would a black person.
No, I'm talking more broadly about people who have embraced this sort of an alternate narrative of the black experience, of which I think Clarence Thomas is but one. He's not the only one.
No, but I think that Donald Trump, I sit around talking trash with my buddies up at Harvard. I have dinner every Sunday with Larry Bobo, the great sociologist, and his wife, Marcelina Morgan, who's the founder of the Hip Hop Archive. And we argue all the time, right? And Larry and I team teach a course called Intro to Afro. The kids call it Blackness 101. And it is about the debates in the African-American tradition about what it means to be black. And we start in the 18th century. Black people have been arguing with each other over what it means to be black since the day our ancestors got off the boat trying to figure out how the hell to get out of here. Now, in terms of Donald Trump, it's easier for me to understand why.
Actually, I want to pause on that point real quick. Y'all thought it was new? Who's black? Who's black enough? What's a good black? What's a bad black? Yes, a massa. That's been going on since forever. You're muted. You're muted.
I said he ain't lying. He ain't lying.
So
oh my God, he ain't lying. Light skin versus dark skin, 1%, 2%, you know what I'm saying? Brown paper bag check in Jim Crow, who's the house nigga versus who's the field nigga? Who?
I'm a little too dark. A little too dark.
See, we scrutinize ourselves the most. In the worst ways, not even in productive ways.
Right. Like, I remember one time I had an argument with someone because, like, I'm red and yellow undertones, right? So I'm like, yeah, a lot of people can be yellow. Well, you're not yellow. Okay, you're seeing me through a camera, but you're right. Like, I'm light skinned. I'm super light skinned. And I'm just like,
word. They
prefer
do it
be
to
dark.
nightish too. Yeah.
Like,
you've only seen us in digital format. You haven't seen us in person.
oh no, I'm funny. In the wintertime, I get real pale. In the summertime, I get real dark because I'm not from Africa. I'm a Native American Indian, and most of y'all are Native American Indian. That's why you get that red in you. That's why a lot of y'all don't do well with liquor. Y'all don't do well with firewater because y'all are Native Americans. Stop it. Let's continue listening to this man. You know he about to talk mess on Trump, but let's listen.
That support and understand how a black person could be against affirmative action. Because so many people are afraid. I found this quote. Actually, somebody sent me an email this morning about would I help save James Baldwin's house in the south of France? And I went there, and that's a whole nother story, and I love James Baldwin. But I had forgotten this quote. And listen to this. This is from Notes of a Native Son. I imagine, James Baldwin wrote, one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. They will be forced to deal with pain. And I think that
now you're muted, bro. You're muted.
I see. Look, TOK is silly. He said and lactose intolerance. Listen, y'all hate each other so much. Because if you stop hating your brother and your sister, then you'll have to deal with that generational pain. Child, come through, James Baldwin, come through. Like, but there's people out here that'll tell you how black they are. They barely know who James Baldwin is. I'm just saying real quick, they don't know the history of the culture. They think that black culture is hip hop and strippers and lemon pepper chicken. which is about to be somebody's, like, I think it was Virginia, that's their state chicken, is lemon pepper chicken. What are we doing? I'm exhausted, Black people. I'm exhausted with you. After all our ancestors have lived through and worked for, this is what it amounts to. Go ahead, Omni.
And it's sad because it seems like the biggest thing that at least from my perspective, right? I'm not gonna speak for anybody else but myself. It seems to me that that's the biggest obstacle to get over. You know what I'm saying? Because we pick each other apart so much instead of be self-reflective that we can't progress. I'm not gonna say we can't. We rarely progress individually. And so if you can't progress individually, what value can you contribute to the group as a whole?
Well, and that's the thing. And this is why I labeled this video Black culture. Like, we are looking at things that have been prevalent issues throughout all of history. And I think I put that link in the description box, but if I didn't, I will. Y'all go through and watch that whole conversation. Like, we may watch a little bit more of it, but you know, it further elucidates the point. I think I'm gonna skip it over to here. We get to talking about the genealogy, right? Because that's super important. But Black people y'all doing too much, man. Y'all doing too much in all the areas that don't matter. I guess that's the ultimate, that's the long and short of it. Black culture nowadays is doing so much so you could stunt on somebody else. So you can act like you a step above someone else and you better than someone else.
And
that
I'm sorry. I'm just saying that really doesn't do anything to advance the people. Like, there's certain principles, and I always say this, and I'll continue to say this until I'm blue in the face. There's certain principles other cultures have that's so ingrained in them, it's, you know what I'm saying, baked into their religious beliefs. And they're strict, and they perform these rituals day in, day out, come, you know what I'm saying, rain or shine. In the Black community, going back to the individualism and the way that we pick each other apart more than build with each other,
and it's crazy because it makes you not want to build with nobody.
Yeah. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who to trust. You don't know if that person is capable of trusting themselves. You know what I mean? So
what's that song? Bad. Don't trust them new niggas over there.
Even Aaron Magruder, right? Aaron Magruder. There's a clip of Aaron Magruder saying that, yo, Black people, if we don't get our ish together, it's gonna be a wrap. Because we've been trading on borrowed time.
And it's over with.
And the creator okay, so to connect the dots for the people that didn't just understand what just happened. So she said the song Don't Trust Them New Niggas Over There, which is a song off of the Boondocks. If those are not familiar with the Boondocks, Aaron Magruder is the creator of the Boondocks. And so that's why I reference what I reference.
Yes.
Along with Regina King.
Yes,
who did
but
the
a
voices
lot
of Huey and
Riley.
Riley.
But child, we're gonna look at one little more clip of this because I can't. Like, I'm telling you, I was supposed to do this yesterday, and I was like, you know what? For why? And then I was supposed to do it earlier today, and I was like, I don't even feel like it. But then I was like, let me just go ahead and get it done because during the week I'm not revisiting it.
I feel it.
Let's listen.
The other night that Wynton Marsalis said to me in our 2001 series on the history of jazz when I asked him about race, and he said race is, and he stopped and he just closed his eyes in extraordinary pain, and he clenched his fist and he looked up to heaven for inspiration. He said, race is, it's like the thing in the mythology that the kingdom needs in order to be well. It's something we should be running towards, but we're always running away from. And what he was postulating is that jazz, in its incredibly ecumenical and generous and democratic spirit, permitted a kind of call and response that allowed the tensions, say, between black and white to coexist, the tensions between Saturday night and Sunday morning to coexist and be reconciled. And so what we look for in our narrative is a place where 1 and 1 doesn't always add up to the safe and rational 2, but we look for, as we do in our life, in our sex, in our relationship, in our faith, in our art, for that strange and improbable calculus where 1 and 1 equals 3.
Slavery was as horrible, so monumentally horrible. It's difficult to find language to describe the nature and function and import of slavery, but we can never forget that the enslavement of African Americans and the shipping of 12.5 million Africans across the Atlantic between, say, 1515 and 1866 was built on the attempt to completely annihilate the people, the genocide of the people who owned America in the first place, the Native Americans. And we need to hammer that fact home, and we forget it. And Native Americans are still living with the consequences of that genocide. And it's something that we can't, it's a story that's not told enough. A story that we bracket, I think, because of the depth of our shame about it.
Well, there's a question to you also, Skip, about that. And this question's about finding your roots and the controversy about Ben Affleck, finding out that slave owners were in his family. Generally, his reaction was to distance himself from that. It seems like an allegory for how America writ large deals with race. We act as though it was a long time ago. We can't possibly be racist now. Is this imagining racism is limited to individual actions and its structural impact? And the question goes on. But that does raise a question of, I understand that you said that you took that out because it was repetitive to other storylines. But doesn't that kind of reinforce the idea that this is just a series of bad actors as opposed to something that touched so many Americans that it is a part of the fabric?
Oh, no, that's a great question. We had 8 stories in that series about slavery. And I was, Ken's treatment of the Civil War is fascinating to me, and the role of the Civil War. One story that we never talk about enough is the fact that Ken was pointing out yesterday, we were together 2 days ago when we were together, that 750,000 Americans died in the Civil War. And one of the traumas of that much death was, the response was spiritualism.
Right.
The growth of the belief that somehow, the only way that you could process that was to believe that basically your ancestors were in another room. And that there was a person who could be the transport between you and that other room. One of Ben Affleck's ancestors became a medium. And so I wanted to tell the story of slavery in the Civil War through that unusual story. It's as simple and as complex as that. And we had 8 other stories about slavery. The mistake I made was...
But it was, what was your mistake?
Not talking to Paula Kerger at PBS and asking her an opinion about it.
But he was upset about it. That was the way it was reported,
yeah,
that
but
he was upset. And it's upsetting. People are upset when you share with them things about themselves that they would perhaps wish were not true.
And we could talk to Ken about that, because this is very interesting about the weight of an unpleasant story. Yeah. And it's your story, so I told him 2 unpleasant stories about himself.
But here's the thing, right?
That man was squirming.
He was squirming. Here's the thing.
Had to shift his posture and everything.
He's like, ooh, now you put me at the pressure, Chief. Most people, just like most Black people have ties to slavery as descendants of slavery, most white people have ties to slavery as owners of slaves. Like, this is America. It's not like it's that big of a land. Y'all really think America is huge, and America is not that huge comparative to. If we did a comparative analysis of the United States of America to Russia, not that big. United States of America to Africa, not that big. To Australia, not Japan, not that big. So the question remains, do we hold people now hostage today for what their ancestors did? Because I don't see people lifting up the ancestors of white people that were a part of the emancipation of slaves and the abolition of slavery.
Lincoln is like really the least discussed president in any conversation that I've had. Like, he's not really brought up that much.
He was shot in the back of the head at the theater.
I've talked
Which means
about,
he was cultured.
Yeah, I talked more about Dwight Eisenhower recently than I have Lincoln. But yeah, he was like one of the most important presidents.
Right. And then when they do talk about him, they try to minimize what he did. And oh no, he just did that for taxation purposes. I don't care why he did it. He still did it. And then, you know, they want to talk about Kennedy and all this and all that. A lot of people don't even talk about Reagan too much, for real. And when we look at things like Iran-Contra, the crack epidemic, and the fallout behind that super predator crime bill and everything else, that is all subsidiaries of Reaganomics. The welfare queen, that stereotype and trope, that's all part of Reaganomics as well. Like, so, you know, absolutely. I don't know. Oh, thank you, honey. Hi, babe. Hi, babe. Hey. So, you know, like, I can't take a lot of people that be on social media talk. What I have fully understood, especially in this past week, is that ain't nobody really here for content. Not true content.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay. Are they not here for content or substance in the content?
Yeah, substance in the content. Yeah, they are here to hit an algorithm and hit a link. I don't really understand how many times you can review the same video. I don't know how many different perspectives you're going to get from one clip, but I know I've seen one clip at least 20 times, and then the next clip at least another 20 times. Like, what are we doing? I'm sick of Black people. Black culture. Go ahead. You give your final thoughts, Omni, because I'm about to give a barn burner for a close.
I mean, it's not just, to be fair, it's not just Black people out here, but yeah, these I hate the word grift. We need a different word. Let me just go back to what we used to say. These motherfuckers faking it for the cameras. That's what it really is.
They lying to kick it.
For sure. As always, lift every book and read. Even if you don't have an actual book, read something. Read a text message. Read something.
I'm not reading text messages. I can't.
I don't know what to, listen.
Read a social media post.
No, don't read the social media.
It might be a lie, but still read that. Do something. I don't know.
Develop critical thinking skills too. I don't know how you're gonna do that. I don't know, but geez, it's getting bad out here. It's like people lack so much common sense. As my grandfather would say, "You ain't got the sense God gave a billy goat."
Hey.
You know what I mean? It's that bad. It's a lot of sub Billy Goat level thinking. You know what I mean? But always a time, as always, Raw. Shout out to Cell. I see Cell in the chat was good. I'm gonna let you have it because I know you about to do the big one.
I am. I'll put you in the back right now, please. Listen, Black culture in 2026 is simply this. Everybody is trying to get a bag. Everybody's trying to hustle, but they're not really trying to get a bag or hustle in ways that are productive for the community. what Black culture is in 2026 is social media is a wave. So let me get on social media. Let me be performative. Let me be a whole minstrel show. And then if I'm not going to be the one being the minstrel show, let me pull the video of somebody else being the minstrel show and review that so I could sneak into the algorithm, get some clout, get some eyeballs on me, and catch a bag. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the only way to get money in 2026. Okay, you guys, like, there's so much more out there. There are degrees to get, there are investments to be made, there's like outside, there's work to be done on a whole bunch of different levels. Hey, Black Doug, Bad Doug, how you doing? It's a lot more to do. Me, for one, I have Black exhaustion, not even Black fatigue. Yeah, a lot of people are lying to kick it. You see people that have standards and perspectives that shift and twist with the wind. They're going to say and do anything just in order to have a fan base, just in order to have people be on their side. And to me, that's not standing on anything. It's really being kind of weak in all actuality. But, that's enough of it for me today. I am going to go and take a nap. And I just wanted to get this done because I'm busy and I got other stuff to do. I love y'all. Thank you guys for joining me. Please be sure to hit the like button, share it out, whatever, share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, whatever, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace. Oh, yeah.
We started with fire, melon, and growth. And in the dark took hope. Hearts carrying legacies, carrying scars. But baby, we learned the first ingredients, trust. No secrets, no games, just us and God we trust. Or in each other.